What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Loading Up Podcast. I'm your host, producer Jay, and with me today is Brother Tay.
Hello. I've returned again.
You are back from your brief hiatus, and I was actually surprised you were going to join me today because you had a birthday recently.
I was extremely busy for my birthday, and it's okay. I appreciate everyone who made these plans for me because I didn't plan a single thing.
That's always the best, man.
Yeah.
I never do anything for my birthday, so it's always better when people do stuff for you. It makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside.
It was very delightful. They know they took me to some nice places. Kept everything very low key, the way I like to do stuff.
Exactly. That's always the best. You don't wanna go too crazy. But if you don't know, Brother Zay is not with us because he was not feeling well. So best wishes. He will be back. So hopefully he feels better. But in the meantime, we're gonna hold down the fort. How you been, Tay? What games you been playing?
I've tell you the truth, the last game, since I was really busy this week, so wasn't able to play a lot of games. But the last game I played that stuck in my mind, I started doing the Ring Fit Switch game.
Oh really? Oh yeah, I remember you did mention that.
Yeah, I was doing the story mode. It made me run for 20 minutes. That story mode is no joke. That is a true.
Is it actually good? Because I remember hearing about the story was actually like kind of decent for the type of game that it is.
I was very surprised that when I first started, I was like, okay, the story mode is like, I'm just going to have to do some stuff like this. But no, it was like, oh, this monster escaped, and now you got to do exercise to destroy his monsters. And you got to run to each town to get him. It's a full-on thing. Like, I really jogged for 20 minutes. And after jogging for 20 minutes, it was like, to defeat his monster, you must give him 25 squats. And I was like...
You're like, fuck that.
It's like, 25, bro? And he wasn't even dead. He's like, now you have to give him 10 overhead press. I was like, 10? I was like, my legs hurt now.
It's always interesting how they get that stuff to work. Because, like, it's all different points on your body that you have to attach. Like, you gotta attach one, like the nunchuck, not the nunchuck.
So to make it work, it's you take one of the Joy-Cons. That's the word.
Joy-Cons. There you go.
You take the, I think it's the right Joy-Con. You just take the right Joy-Con to the whole ring, and then you have your left Joy-Con. You have to put it in a strap that ties to your leg, like your thigh. So it can tell like how high you're getting your knees up, or if you're running in place, or it can tell like if you're really doing the workouts that it's telling you to do. Because then it motion sensors you.
That's good. Do you feel like you get a workout from it, like an actual like?
Oh, my legs were dead, bro.
Well, that's good.
My leg, not dead, but it felt like one of my old track and field workouts when I was in college.
Yeah, maybe I can get that so I don't have to go to the gym.
I think
it's one of those games that it's like, because I remember, I feel like we talked about it before, the Wii Sports.
Yes.
Like that shit gave me a workout, but then afterwards I was just like, I don't know if this actually gave me a workout or am I just that out of shape?
I really understood that. I felt like that was more of a thing when it got to like the Wii Pad and like the the Kinect games. I felt like that's something that's like more of a question.
No. When they started checking all your like weight and shit, like you don't need to know all that. But so actually, it's actually kind of a shame that Brother Zay isn't here because he would have been very proud of me because I actually finished the game.
Oh, I'm proud of you. Congratulations. One of us has to.
Thank you.
Because both of us don't do it, so one of us has to do it.
I know. It's hard out here in these streets. No, I actually finished HiFi Rush.
Okay.
So it's very fun. Like honestly, it was one of the games that like I kept looking forward to playing, but then something always came up, and I was just like, oh well, I gotta postpone it. I only played for like a little bit at a time, but every time I was playing, I was enjoying myself. So, it was actually it was one of those games that you how do I put it, like you remember, and what, or rather like every level always changed it up. So like, you know how some games they get repetitive and then it's like it gets boring after a while and you're just like, I gotta, and then it starts being like a chore. HiFi Rush was one of those games that I never felt bored. They were always introducing new things all the way up until like the last level, and it was so cool. And like just I don't know if you ever played games and you try, like, I don't know, for me it was always like I tried to hit on the beat, you know.
Yes.
So
I know those rhythm games very well.
Well, not even just the rhythm games, but like I would do it unintentionally. Like it was just like something like I felt like I had to do. Like especially like in games like Kingdom Hearts, where you have the beat playing in the background, you find the boss and you kind of like hit with the beat and it just matches up. It feels like really cool.
Yeah,
that's this game. So it's like it gives that dopamine for when you land the beat right, and it's really cool. So I'm glad I was able to finish that game.
Nice.
I actually started I mentioned this before, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot.
Yes, you mentioned it. I don't think I was there for that, but I know you mentioned it in the group chat.
Yeah, so I started playing that because the update came out for the next gen consoles.
Yes.
And the DLC came out. So I'm going through that, and it's so coincidental that they just announced the new Dragon Ball Z Tenkaichi game.
Well, before it was definitely I'm not sure if it was Budokai Tenkaichi. I'm probably butchered that name. Was it supposed to be number 4? Is that correct?
So they never actually said it. They just said Dragon Ball Z, or no, they said a new Budokai Tenkaichi story is coming or something like that. So people are assuming that it's gonna be 4 because they showed in the trailer the previous games and it went up to 3. So I guess the next one would be 4, right?
Yeah.
But I remember I read an article, or maybe it's not an article, it's like a Twitter post of somebody who kind of like dug through some filings, like trademarks and stuff like that, that in Japan they filed it under Dragon Ball Z Budokai. Well, no, because it's in Japan it's called something different. It's called Dragon Ball Z Sparking, because that's the name of, like, that's how you say Budokai or Tenkaichi, one of them. One of them means sparking. So they call it Sparking over there. And then it was called Sparking 0.
Okay.
So potentially it could be called Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 0.
I mean, if it could be a 0 thing, like back to the originals where it shows all the original stories.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's
from Dragon Ball up and up. Could be interesting.
That's always how they do the things, where you just replay the storylines, and I mean, it's always fun to relive it and get new perspectives and stuff like that. But I always played like the Budokai Tenkaichi games as a kid. And it's good to have it back. But I was saying is it's just a coincidence that I started playing that game and then they released that trailer. So I was just like, I'm definitely like really into like the whole Dragon Ball scene right now.
I mean, all the trailers are coming out right now. Like I've seen all the trailers. I've seen nothing but trailers, but for Street Fighter, the new Street Fighter game. That's been going crazy right now.
Yeah, they're releasing a lot of shit. They just released a trailer. Well, I guess we can just kind of jump right into the news, because they released a trailer for Starfield. I don't know if you've seen it.
I don't think I've seen that one lately.
Yeah, no. So this one, it's been a long time coming. Especially me and Brother Zay, like we've been kind of gushing over it. I don't know if you saw the group chat when it released.
No, I know.
We were like fangirling over it. It was like, oh my god, it looks so cool.
Yeah, no, that's when I started ignoring the chats.
It's all good. No, the chats can pop off quite a bit sometimes.
No, depending on what's going on, I'm like, is this something I really need to pay attention to? No, they're fangirling over this? Alright, cool. I'm just gonna let them express their opinions. I'm not gonna do anything to rush that.
Have you played like Bethesda games? Like the Bethesda RPG, like Skyrim, Fallout?
I played Fallout.
Which one?
I played Fallout. Which one? Fallout. I can't remember which one.
The one that was under, or the ones that were under Bethesda is 3, New Vegas, and 4.
I think I played Vegas, but I think I'm gonna put up a list. Hold on, let me see. I'm gonna
Okay,
try to
good.
find. I'm gonna try to find all the ones, but I do remember playing. I do remember playing a Fallout game, and I think it was on the possessed. I can't say words.
Bethesda.
Yeah.
Yes, no, because it is if it's New Vegas, then it's you played the best one. Like that's a lot of people would agree that Fallout New Vegas is definitive Fallout game.
I have definitely seen a lot of their stuff. Let's see.
I'm surprised you never played Skyrim. I feel like that would be right up your alley.
Skyrim was one of the games where I just never got the chance to buy. So
I bought it.
I got.
I bought it out of impulse because everybody was buying it, and I was just like, I guess I gotta buy it. But then I never beat it. So
I did. I got to play. Looking at this, because I got a whole list. I did get to play. I got to play Elder Scrolls. That was a whole nonsense right there.
yeah, no, that's Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, that was.
So wait, so which do you know which one it was? Was it on like the PS3 or 360?
So I didn't own it. My friends owned it. One of my friends owned it on his PlayStation 4. It was on PlayStation 4. It was Elder Scrolls. I believe it was Elder Scrolls Blades. That's the one he had, and we played it together from time to time.
The hell is that? I never heard of that one. Hold on.
Yeah, it's Elder Scrolls Blades. It was released in 2019. It was like a first-person role-playing game from Bethesda Games.
Hold on, I gotta look at this. Blades?
But I think, what was it? Fallout 76? Wasn't that a phone game?
Oh, it's a dungeon crawler.
Mm-hmm.
I had never heard of this game. Wow.
I also, just looking at all the games they have published, I got to play, I played Evil Within. That was a game on itself that drove me insane.
Oh, the Evil Within. Fun fact, the Evil Within is made by the same developers that made HiFi Rush.
Oh, see, that's why I can honestly, I might have to play it, but I can honestly, yeah, it also does say HiFi Rush right next to it. Oh, you want the honest truth? Probably the best game I think I played by them. You're gonna be surprised by that. It was on the Dishonored series.
Dishonored. Okay, so I've actually never played that. I played their other games. What was it? Why am I blanking? The one. So it just came out last year. Why am I blanking? What the hell? Hold on, I gotta look this up.
For it, but as per
Deathloop. There you go, Deathloop.
Oh, okay.
So they made that game as well, but it's very good, and I wanted to get into Dishonored because I do like stealth action games.
Dishonored was like to me it was such a good parallel because that's when I was really into like Assassin's Creeds and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, got to play Dishonored with all the the powers, the magic powers, the spells you can do. That it just was, to me, it was one of the best games, and the story was fantastic, with all the consequences and all the other stuff that you really had to go through. I really love it. Dishonored was one of my favorite games to play at that time.
Yeah. Well, but anyway, so yeah, Starfield was announced, and it's actually last year at E3 they announced that it was coming out. So all the games that they showed, that Xbox showed on E3 last year, said that it was gonna come out within like 12 months, within the year, and Starfield was included in it. So a lot of people were assuming that it was gonna come out within the year because that was kind of the whole point of the show. That's what they said. So they showed like a trailer or whatever, and then we didn't hear anything about it until I want to say like August, September, something like that, where it got delayed, and it got delayed until 2023 this year, but they never said when. They just said it was delayed to this year. So a lot of people were assuming that because they said everything's coming out within the year, they said, oh, it could still come out and it'll be like either like March or May or April or June, whatever.
What a very wide timeline.
Yeah, I know. It'll come out in the spring, or at least by June, which would make a year. So that's what everybody was assuming. But apparently, that was not the case, because it was announced that it's coming out September 6th. So, A lot of people are kind of upset about this. I'm not, because I want this game to be the best it can be.
I mean, I want the game to just... I don't want a game to be kind of faulty if it's going to come out.
Exactly.
Like, if you're going to delay it, don't... I'd rather it just be finished. Perfect. Be finished.
Exactly.
I don't want it to come out and it's still chunky, and now I gotta wait for another like patch or a DLC to come out, so it's really good.
Yeah.
Or it's to complete a game. Like, come on.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that like has been a trend recently, where games are just coming out unfinished.
Yeah.
Or like not feature complete, like Halo was, where it was fun to play, but it was missing a lot of stuff. And then games that are just like really buggy, and yeah, no, it's been like that for a while. And since Starfield is kind of like the big title that Xbox is promoting, that they need to land a home run with this one. They can't afford to let it be buggy and stuff, because that's one of the things that Bethesda Games has been known for, which is their buggy games. Like, I don't know if you remember when you played Dishonored or even like Fallout, they were buggy. They had a lot of glitches.
Well, yeah, when they first came out, I heard there was a lot of like glitches and things with certain things that would like make the game freezes and stuff.
There was one where it was in Fallout New Vegas where, because like when you start the game as like you get shot in the head, but then you get brought back to life. And there's like an old man that kind of like helps you. He says like he helped you get back on your feet or whatever. And literally, because it was so buggy, his head would start spinning. And literally, it was like kind of like The Exorcist. And it was like, yo, what the hell is going on? Am I tripping?
I brought you back to life.
Right? You think he's like evil or some shit. But yeah, so I think they want to kind of move away from being known as the buggy developer. So let's hope that they succeed with this one, and that the time that they took to, or the time that they spent bug fixing and polishing is worth it.
Well, since we're talking about delaying games as a good segue, there's another game that actually that got delayed because of the backlash.
Yeah.
It's so the game Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has now been delayed due to backlash over the gameplay, so it's being delayed to be polished.
Yeah. No,
So
I don't know. How do you? I don't think I've ever like we've never talked about that. How do you feel about like service games? Like kind of like you know, the Avengers, or even like Destiny. Like they basically like they constantly release stuff for you to do, even though it's like a single player game, but they make you like
I'm more to tell you the truth,
stuff and stuff. Like, how do you feel about that?
To tell you the truth, that's honestly what made me fall out of love with the game Genshin Impact. Because I was playing Genshin Impact when it came out to the consoles, because it was like I didn't know about it, so it was a surprise game to me because I wasn't looking it up.
Right.
And it gave me the old feel of like old Japanese, like all Japanese RPGs, but it had more of like a Kingdom Hearts feel in the storyline. So I loved the game, and so I got to a certain point where it's like, okay, well, if you want to do this, well, you're gonna have to do these things and loot, and you're gonna have to wait. You're gonna have to do this at least 3 days before you continue with the stories. And I'm like, this is not why I bought a video game.
Right.
If I want to play like as a single player game that I want to play by myself, like this story, I like the story, but don't make it seem like I gotta do stuff to make it work. I don't want to do that. So like once it came back to that, I was like, I don't want this. I don't want to do this no more.
Yeah, and what sucks is that because this game is made by Rocksteady, who made the Arkham game. I love those freaking games. Like that literally they brought like comic book movies, or not movies, comic book games. They brought them back from being like just kind of like, you know, shovelware games. Because you know you played, they have like the X-Men games or the old Spider-Man games, and they were kind of just like cash grabs. They just made them just so they can say they made a Spider-Man game or whatever.
Yeah, and pretty much none of the games were, honestly, if it wasn't for this as Rocksteady, I'm sorry. If it wasn't for them doing this with the Arkham games, we wouldn't have as many great games, movie games we have now. Like Spider-Man, The video game would
Exactly.
not be as good as it is right now if it wasn't for this Arkham series.
Exactly. They set the standard for how to make a proper like comic book game that's not like too campy and it takes itself seriously.
Yeah,
So
it,
to
it
go
gives you all.
from yeah, so to go from that to the Suicide Squad, which is completely a different game from the Arkham games. Like I don't know if you've seen the trailer that they showed, but it's like you ever played Crackdown?
Yes, literally, looking at the article, it was like the gameplay is a strange version of Crackdown. The characters
Yeah.
flying through the air and shooting all types of weird weaponry.
Right, and
It
it's
was
like when you think of Rocksteady or you think of the Suicide Squad, that type of game doesn't come to mind. Like that's not the game you expect. You expect like a more grounded, like a heavy, story-driven type game, but that's not what this is. This is a service game, and it's like why of all developers would you make Rocksteady do this? Because
Yeah,
that's not their forte. And the same thing happened to you remember Anthem?
Yes, I do remember Anthem
The
games.
same thing happened with Anthem, where it's like you have BioWare, who like world-renowned RPG creator. Like they make the best RPG games. They have the Knights of the Old Republic, Mass Effect, Dragon Age. Like they have a good repertoire of RPGs. That's what they're good at.
Ooh, Dragon Age.
And then you have them make like a service game that like has nothing to do with RPGs at all. Like I guess they kind of advertise it as an RPG, but it really wasn't. So it's like how do you take that developer and make them do something that they've never done before, and then like want it to be successful? Like that doesn't make any sense. Same thing with the Avengers. They did Crystal Dynamics, the people who made Tomb Raider. They're good at single player games, but then you put them in a service, you put them to make a service game, they're gonna fail. Like that's not what they're good at. So why would you do this with Rocksteady? Like it's like there's so many examples of this not working. Why would you try it again?
So, like if you have a studio that's well known for what they do, that's like trying to get Telltale Games to make like Call of Duty. It just does not. You shouldn't
Exactly.
be doing this. Like,
Exactly.
everyone knows what Telltale Games does. Everyone's seen what Rocksteady can do with Hollywood games. Like, I guess they went with them because like they're good with the Arkham series. So they're like, okay, Arkham series, like they did it, and they're like, oh, maybe they can just make Suicide Squad good. But like, if you're gonna make them make a Suicide Squad game, they're going to do. You should have them just do what they're good at. And just
Exactly.
like make it they're good at following storylines. And making it visually visually stunning. Like there was no complaints about how Arkham series looked. It was fantastic.
Right.
You can't have them do these type of things. It's just not how it works.
No.
You're just losing money, and then you're not helping nobody.
So this was actually the second delay, because this was actually supposed to come out last year.
It was supposed to come out last year, and it was set to get released this year in May.
Yeah.
But
And then
now it's gonna be
now-
delayed again.
Yeah, now it's kind of up in the air. There's people who are saying it's going to be the end of 2023. Some people are saying it might be till next year. So it's like,
Yeah,
honestly,
I've seen a few delays. I've seen a few. Some are skepting the end of 2023. Some others skepting next year in spring, 2024. But I'm not gonna lie to you. Every time I see 2024, I keep thinking it's 2 years away from now, but it's not.
no,
I know.
time is flying, man. But yeah. So it's like, so part of me is like, okay, good. They're responding to feedback, but I don't think that's enough time to change what people disliked about what they saw, because it's only a year or 6 months at the minimum. You can't fundamentally change the game much. Like that's impossible. You can't change a whole game in 6 months. Not without it freaking being like trashed and buggy and all that stuff, which I hope is not the case. But yeah, so I mean, personally, I wasn't really looking forward to this game anyway, because truth be told, I'm not the biggest DC fan. So even though I did like the Suicide Squad movie, this is not the movie, this is the game. So it's like, I was kind of wishy-washy about it. But yeah, I mean, hopefully they're able to do something with it that addresses the concerns of people. Maybe kind of like tone down the service aspect of things, because I don't want to have to grind. That's one thing I hate about like service games is the grind. Like I don't want it to feel like a job.
Yeah, like there's daily loots and stuff.
Daily loots.
Things you have to loots.
Yeah, and
it would be annoying. Especially
and I
like,
don't want to have
you
to
just want to do a single player type of game mode, and it's
I don't want to have to worry about my weapon attachments to get a boost in like attack damage. Like I don't want to have to worry about that. Like that's not fun to me. I know some people like that. I don't like that, and apparently a lot of people don't either, which is why they're delaying it. So, yeah, we'll see. Yeah, it's pretty much like Borderlands, which I really didn't like Borderlands.
I like Borderlands. The story.
I feel that's more like a co-op game, which I don't really have a lot of people to play co-op games with.
Like,
but
do you want me to segue from that as well?
I mean, go ahead if you got a segue. You're the king of segues.
You know I do my best. You were talking about having co-op and multiplayer games. So, as we all know, the show Last of Us and the great game series in Last of Us 1 and 2. Now coming out, this year we'll release a new game of Last of Us, the multiplayer game.
Right.
It's supposed to be. I'm trying to find the release date. Lord knows. There was concept art they released in June, but I don't remember. But it's still on track to come out this year.
Right. So it doesn't have an official release date. The only thing is they're saying that it could come to the PS4 as well, which is interesting because a lot of people like within like the gaming community, they complain about how last gen is kind of holding us back because because like next gen is like the new thing. You want developers to be able to focus on that hardware and push that hardware. But if you're releasing on last gen consoles, there's like not that much you can do with new hardware because you have to support the old one. So yeah, they've been working on, I think it's called Last of Us Factions.
Yeah.
Which is I don't think they've ever said like what kind of multiplayer game it'll be. Cuz there's like the first Factions multiplayer mode, which was for it was for the first Last of Us. And it was kind of just like a multiplayer arena type game. There's nothing really like special about it. It was kind of like running gun. I mean, I'm sure I never really played it. I played like maybe like one match, and I was just like, yeah, no, this is not for me.
I like it. So Naughty Dog, because Naughty Dog is the one who makes it, and they're also making this one. Another thing is they've never been like the best at multiplayer games,
right?
Because like Uncharted, we all know their two big claim to fame is Crash Bandicoot and Uncharted.
And The Last of Us.
I mean, we're talking about Last of Us, but I'm talking about before Last of Us came out.
Last of Us, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and Jack and Daxter.
Oh yeah. Oh, you're right.
That was my shit. I can't deny.
Have you played Uncharted? You played Uncharted, correct?
Yes.
Have you played Uncharted: The Online Bird? Have you played the multiplayer games of them?
I played a little bit of 4 because my brother had it, and I was game sharing with him for a little bit, and I played a little bit, and I was just like,
no, it was not great.
No,
Uncharted multiplayer for Last of Us 4 was not great.
Yeah,
the best Uncharted multiplayer version was probably Uncharted 2, and it still wasn't great. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
like the hitboxes were all over the place. Even honestly, probably their best multiplayer version is probably Tomb Raider, and I'm not sure which one anymore.
It was the first one.
Yeah.
That was the thing. Back then, a lot of games had tacked on multiplayer, which that was the way to kind of get people to keep playing the game. So they would just add a multiplayer mode, even though it wasn't that good, even though it was like bare bones. They just added it on just to add it on. And I'm glad that more developers aren't doing that anymore.
Yeah.
But I hope that this isn't the case with this because, like, honestly, Last of Us doesn't really need a multiplayer mode. And I know Sony's been trying to, like, get on that because, I mean, you know about the whole Call of Duty Activision Blizzard deal. I mean, that's, like, literally all me and Brother Zay have been talking about every week.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like the potential of Call of Duty not being on PlayStation anymore, while it's not like looming, in 10 years it could. And if Call of Duty leaves PlayStation in 10 years, they don't have anything else to replace it. So I know they're trying to dip their feet into the multiplayer part, and they bought Bungie, so that kind of helps them a little bit. But I feel like Last of Us is really hard to do multiplayer for because there's so many aspects that you have to account for, like with the loot and managing your items and inventory and all that. So like, how do you incorporate that in a way that's not too cumbersome for a multiplayer game? So we'll see how this turns out though, because I hope it's more accessible. Like, I hope they don't tie it to, like, a specific game. I hope it's, like, its own thing.
We can hope, but if I had to guess, I'm not gonna lie to you, the prospect of when on Last of Us multiplayer, just the factions of it, just, like, you can just, like, you get to be part of a camp and it's, like, running stuff, but then it becomes a server game, so it feels weird as well.
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how they decide to go about this, because we really don't know. There's been no information regarding like what kind of service game or what kind of multiplayer game it's gonna be. Yeah. So we kind of just have to wait and see on that. But I mean, they said it's coming this year, so you would think we could hear about it soon.
There's no release date. It just says they're on track to release this year. So most likely sometime, probably, if I had to guess, sometime in winter, Christmas season, most likely.
Well, we'll see. Hopefully by like E3 we'll know more. Or maybe we might even wait until, watch this segue, the PS6 comes out. Because apparently the PlayStation 6 has a release date that's planned by Sony. So usually like consoles, they last roughly like 7 years. That's usually how long they last. I think the only exception was the PS3 and 360. They lasted. Hold on, I wanna get it right. No. Okay, so starting with the PS3 and 360, each generation lasted about like 7 years. Because I think Nintendo is the only one that doesn't do 7 years. I think they do 5. Except with the Switch, because when did the Switch come out? It came out 2013, right?
Yeah.
Or am I bugging? Hold on.
Hold on. I mean, I'll look up the Switch, but keep talking about that stuff.
But yeah, so I think outside of Nintendo, Sony and Microsoft have stuck to the 7-year thing, because the PS3 came out in 2006. So okay, when is I gotta do some math because I'm like losing it.
I can tell you. So wait, when did tell me? So when did PlayStation 4? What was the question? I can tell you 2 things. I can tell you when the Switch came out.
Okay, first. So all right, so the 360 came out in 2005, which was an anomaly because it probably should have waited a year because of the whole Red Ring stuff. But that generation started in 2005, which was technically 8 years from 360 to Xbox One, so we'll say 7 to 8 years. But Nintendo, when did the Switch come out?
The Switch came out in 2017, actually.
2007? Why did I think 2013? Anyway, so yeah, so 2017, and then the Wii U came out in 2012, so that's 5 years. Yeah. And then I think the Wii came out in 2007. And there's another 5 years. So, it came out in 2006. So that's 6 years. Anyway. But anyway, it's like 5 to 6 years. But yeah, aside from Nintendo, who kind of does a little bit shorter, they've been doing 7 years. So now they're saying that the PS6 is slated until 2027, which is kind of on par with the recent generation, because the PS5 came out in 2020. But yeah, so like honestly, it's so weird because like I know it's because of the pandemic, but it feels like this generation just started. Like I don't know, like I feel like a lot of, and it's mostly because a lot of the games are kind of they're like cross-platform, so a lot of games are still on PS4 and PS5 and Xbox One, Xbox Series X. So it hasn't really felt like a new generation yet. It just felt like we were just playing older games or last gen games on new consoles. So I think this year has more next gen or current gen exclusive games. So now it feels like it's starting, because I know a lot of games that are coming out like from now are exclusive to next gen or current gen. So it kind of feels like this generation starting this year instead. So it's weird to hear about the PS6 already being worked on, but you kind of had to know that was gonna happen. Like, I mean, it's not like PS5 was gonna be the last console ever.
No, we already knew. We already knew PlayStation. So we already knew that Sony was gonna work on another PlayStation. But I think it's weird now because like they're saying it's supposed to come out in 2027. That's right. 4 years from now. So they're like, oh, we're gonna be working on it for 4 years. Is what they pretty much just said.
Right.
So I feel like it's just weird for them to say that. Yeah, we plan to release something in 4 years. I think that's why it's weird to us, because they don't normally do that. At least to my knowledge.
Well, so here's the question though: do you think that they release like a kind of upgraded PS5 like they did with the PS4? Because they did the PS4 Pro, which was like, I think like 3 or 4 years after it came out, right before the PS5. So you think they're gonna do like a PS5 Pro?
I don't think so, because normally when it came to like the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 4, it felt like they would just release those because they were just smaller editions. And they had more memory. That's how it felt for some of the pros that they introduced. It was just they just made it a little smaller. It was like, hey, now that we worked out how much how much space we don't need, now it's a smaller version. That's what it felt like.
I mean, if any console needs a smaller version, it's the PS5.
You're not incorrect.
Yo, I remember when I first got it, I heard all the memes and stuff like, oh, it's so huge. And I was like, it can't be that big. And then I got it. I was like, yo, where am I going to put this thing?
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like usually all of the original PlayStation consoles that come out, they're always so huge for some strange reason. Like, remember PlayStation 2 was also big before they really reduced the size.
It was pretty bulky.
Mini.
Yeah. Same thing with the PS3. The PS3 was freaking fat. It was called the PS3 Fat.
Yeah.
When they had the slim version, they called the other one the fat version.
Every time they release, but also for PlayStation 5 is different because they have one version where remember, like, the PlayStation, not all PlayStation 5 came with the CD track. So they already started cutting to reduce some sizes on that PlayStation 5 to begin with. So some part of me tells you, says they already told us that they're going to release the PlayStation 6 in another 4 to 5 years. I think they're kind of just saying like, hey, we're not going to do a pro version. We're not doing this.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Like, this version's good enough, and that's the only version you're going to get. Too bad if it's too fat for you. I don't care.
Find space. But yeah, so we'll see what that entails. But speaking of Sony, I guess we'll go into more of the the weekly occurring Activision news and stuff like that, because
here we go.
Yeah. So I don't know if you probably haven't been following it, because it's honestly it gives me a headache. I don't want to be following it, but it's so like it's one of those like it's so crazy that you can't not ignore it, for me at least.
Okay, just talk
Um,
about it. It's okay. No one's judging you. We already do this. At this point, we're just gonna make it a segment.
yeah, I mean, yeah, honestly, it is like there's no getting around it.
You know,
So the CMA is arguing. Well, it's basically in the proposed remedies phase where they're saying to Microsoft, hey, this is what the deal is this is how we see the deal, and you can do this or this, and it's like then Microsoft has to respond and blah blah blah. So Microsoft did respond, and they said they basically kind of ran down the list of what the CMA was saying that it could potentially harm stuff, and then they kind of like did it bullet by bullet, dismantling their argument essentially. Yeah, so like it's kind of funny if you well, I didn't read it. I watched the video on it because that shit is long. It's like 30 pages. Yeah, no, I wasn't gonna sit there and read that shit. Sony came out with their own response, and it's weird because so Microsoft, one of the remedies that Microsoft proposed is that they offer Sony a 10-year deal.
Yeah.
And it'll be parity, like it'll be the same game, parity featured, like everything will be exactly the same performance, no exclusive content for any platform, whatever. Like literally the exact same game, no nefarious things behind it. Like they offered that to them as a remedy.
Okay.
And Sony claims that Microsoft will intentionally introduce bugs into the PlayStation version to undermine their business. And that somehow Microsoft would use that to kind of like get out of the deal, or the deal with Sony for PlayStation, or for Call of Duty rather.
That's really funny.
And it's so bizarre because I was watching the video today actually. So and they said that they can introduce, like they'll release the game but then introduce bugs in an update.
Yeah.
So I was like, hold on. Who is in charge of the updates? Like Microsoft, if they own Call of Duty, they would push out the update.
Yes.
But it's up to Sony to approve said update. It's not like it's just a free-for-all. They have to review it and approve it if it's sufficient enough. So even if Microsoft were
If they wanted to do this,
if they wanted to undermine Sony's business, quote unquote, by introducing bugs through an update, you would catch it.
but it has to be sent to you.
Yeah, it has to be sent to you. Unless you're just not caring and not doing your job, you would know about it. So there's no way that they would be able to like slip one under you or under your nose, because that's not how that works. So it's so ridiculous that they would even say something like that.
That's really funny.
Yeah, no, it's
Like, we don't trust. Like, look, we don't trust them not to make it terrible on purpose.
right. It's like
wouldn't they have to send it to you anyway?
right.
I don't know. They're just like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, and then but like Microsoft has been very open about like making everything like feature parity. Like they need to, in order for this deal to go through. Like that's what this whole thing is about. They're willing to work with them, but it's like, and then shit, I forgot who she was. She was someone at Activision who basically called out Sony, or what's his name? Jim Ryan, who's like the CEO of Sony. She called him out for basically saying that we don't want to make a deal with you, we just want to block this deal. Like he just straight up said that, and she called him out and said that he said that. There's no official document saying that he said that, but why would this person have to lie? Like, cause
it's not written down, so it's not like a paper trail.
Right.
Transcript they can go off it, but like it's still like,
yeah, if
there's no reason to lie about it.
Yeah, you wouldn't say that if it wasn't true, because you could just refute it. but maybe there is actually, because they said that it was that whenever he said that, it was recorded or at least documented. So it could come out potentially. We'll find out. But it's so weird how Sony is kind of like, they're getting desperate trying to block this deal. And I understand, because Call of Duty is a big moneymaker for them.
Yeah,
but they've just been getting like really weird with it. Like they even said that they can't make, like, because they make God of War, Last of Us, like all their exclusive games. They can't make those if they don't have Call of Duty revenue coming in.
I mean, Call of Duty is a giant revenue maker. Like, even if people don't, some people, like, obviously, there's some people who don't like it, and they still buy it every year because it's just one of the things they do.
But
I have former streams of them, so like I fully understand. I hate the game, honestly.
No, I don't even care about the game. I mean, I play every now and again. I don't really care that much about it. Honestly, this whole deal, I'm more focused on like the other games in Activision's like backlog that could potentially be revived.
I mean, technically, we're still not with the fact that, remember, PlayStation bought Bungie games.
Right.
And they were the makers of Halo.
Right. So, I don't honestly, yeah. So, their claims are just, it's silly. I'll just put it at that. They're silly. They need to stop it. Yeah, so, what's that?
You gotta get that money, understandably.
I guess it's in their best interest to fight this deal tooth and nail. So obviously they're gonna do whatever it takes. So, but
So, do you want to go into a question, or do you want the last news story that I have here?
All right, you could go on the last news story, and then we'll go to.
Because we were talking about Microsoft.
What's that?
We're doing segues all day this week.
We're doing segues.
Pandora. I think it's Pandora. Or Pandora. Paradox. There it is. I'm sorry. It's older, but Paradox just revealed they have a partnership with Microsoft Games to release new games for the Xbox and PC Game Pass.
Which is also, and that's the thing too, because like a lot of what Sony and Microsoft are doing is they're trying to like downplay each other's like strengths.
They're making they're making monopolies, and they're trying to see who can make the biggest one so they can buy each other out. Technically,
well, maybe.
So one of them, they're not even making the biggest video game monopoly because like Nintendo's the biggest one. But they're still like, all right, I can become the second biggest one to challenge Nintendo if I can just buy out this person.
Well, I mean, that's what the fear is that that it become, if this deal goes through, it'll become like a bidding war. And it'll just be Microsoft and Sony just in a race to buy whoever they can. So, I mean, I kind of see that, but at the same time, I don't think it'll be like that, because even if it is, it's not like they can just buy, like, it's not like they have infinite money. Like, I know this deal is kind of, like, huge, but I don't think Microsoft is just going to go and buy another publisher.
No, but it's still, like I said, it's just one of the things where, like, okay, if we get this, they get this deal done. It's like, okay, cool. Now we have ability to hinder another competitor.
Well, but then
they'll do it. No, do I think they'll do it? Probably, in the sense of like it's just better for them. But again, that's what the whole court deal is for. That's why it's in the because like if they do it, then it's back to court.
Exactly. So yeah, that's one thing. Like, even if this deal passes, you're not gonna hear about acquisitions for a while, because they're gonna have to lay low, because they don't want any scrutiny from the regulators or whoever. So they'll probably fall like this. They'll fall back on like partnerships with different developers for Game Pass, because that's the main thing. They want to bolster Game Pass, so it's all about putting games into Game Pass. And with this one in particular, have you ever played City Skylines? It's
no.
basically like Sim City. You ever play Sim City?
I play SimCity.
Okay, so it's kind of like that, but well, I just blanked out. My bad.
I thought something went wrong on my end. I was like, oh,
no.
like I can't hear him.
It's kind of like that, but it's more focused on like I guess because it's for the consoles now, so it's more expansive and stuff like that. But it's good that they're still making these deals. But I honestly, this doesn't surprise me because these games have already been on Game Pass because they did City Skylines. I actually never heard of these other games, so but I'm just reading it real quick. So a lot of these games are kind of like sim games. So it's like simulator, you just play hold on. No, I'm just like I said, I've never heard of these games. But anyway, they're making partnerships to kind of counteract or to kind of like tide or what's the word? Because they're so focused with the Activision stuff, they're kind of like focusing on the smaller games, I guess.
Oh, well, so like I'm trying my best to like at least I'm trying to get where you're going, but you're not helping me at all.
I'm sorry.
It's a lot of blinking. I'm trying to think.
No, it's all right. To be honest, I've been having a few drinks.
Yeah.
So, I'm
how
trying
I
to
do
get
it.
like you, my brother. But yeah, no. So we can end it right there with the news. So one of the last week I spoke about Wulong. You heard about that game, have you?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like Dark Souls or whatever. It's very difficult. Very difficult. And one of the things that got me to think about was like frustrating moments in gaming. And like I guess I would just ask you, like, what was your most frustrating moment? Like one that you just like you wanted to break your controller and shit.
And one of the most frustrating moments of my video game, are we counting boss battles or just like
Boss battles, anything that was like super frustrating to you.
okay, I'm gonna keep it restricted because like there are some games I played as a child that now that I look back and look at it, I clearly was dumb.
Yeah, I know that's usually how it goes.
Yeah, like I clearly was dumb and just didn't really pay attention, and like if I play it now, I fully know how to do everything that needs to be done. But I think the one, and I went back to play it, so I know this mode was just frustrating. I'm gonna take you to you played Kingdom Hearts 2, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you remember Organization 13 boss battles?
Yes, I do.
Do you remember the Organization 13 boss battles in Beauty and the Beast? Where this dude was so tough. Like,
which one? Because there was a bunch of them that had like different.
I can't remember his name, and I'm not gonna try to remember his name. But it was in Beauty and the Beauty and the Beast world, and.
Okay.
When you were fighting him, he had controls of spears that would just like follow like the wind, cause he had like a little power of the wind, and like so it would just he would have the meanest combos that you really couldn't dodge, because like the game didn't give you a dodge mechanic at the time. It gave you a block mechanic and reflect.
Yeah.
And then then at that point he turned all his spears into a dragon. And threw a huge blast at you that you can only dodge with reflect because you didn't have double jump yet.
What?
And the game didn't give you any of this stuff. So the game put you so at a disadvantage that when you literally lost, because the game planned for you to lose, you had to play as Mickey and see all the things he could do, and you would still get your ass beat.
I know who you're talking about.
Exactly. Or you would lose and it'd go to a white screen and Mickey would show up and be like, Sora, don't give up. and he would just show up and show you all the things he could do. And I'm like, why put this boss battle so early in this game where I have nothing? Like, I don't, like, Mickey's cool and all, but Mickey has all these abilities that I don't ever have.
It's to teach you a lesson. That's what it is.
The lesson of, like, you need to give me double jump and
Right.
dodge roll.
You know,
Like,
the basic necessities.
I don't control when this thing gets unlocked. You do.
Yeah, no, that's...
You said it for random, not me.
So, it's funny that you bring that up because, my most frustrating moment is also Kingdom Hearts related. Have you played 3 yet?
Yes.
So, did you play the DLC though?
I'm not playing the DLC.
Okay,
What
so
happened?
there's a DLC. It's called Remind, which, so the actual like DLC, like the new content, is more focused around retelling the ending part of Kingdom Hearts 3, because there was a lot of I guess backlash, because towards the end of the game, everybody kind of like teams up to face off different members of Organization 13. And a lot of people were complaining that they didn't get enough of those fights. Like, it was just focused around Sora and whatever he was doing. And they kind of felt like, oh, you should have focused on those. It would have been cool to see what happened in all those fights. So that was kind of what the focus of the DLC was, is that you got to play out those fights. So you got to play as Roxas and fight whoever. You got to play as Kairi and do all that, and you got to play as Riku and fight whoever he was fighting. But there was also more to that. They did the which I guess this was also in Kingdom Hearts 2. It was like, I think I forgot what it's called, but it's like the computer battles. Do you remember what that was? So you would like go in the computer and you would fight. It was basically like a boss rush. So only boss battles.
Yes, I remember this.
Yeah, so they brought that back to Kingdom Hearts 3.
Oh.
And when I tell you,
that sounds vital.
I have never like screamed at a game before. When I would get so close, because these boss, they're all different, and they have like so many freaking different combos that you have to memorize by heart, and it is insane. And I'm not even done with that. Like, I did it because like I kept doing it, and because you got to do all 13, and then there's like a secret boss at the end. I'm not even like ready for that, but. And I'm afraid, because I know once, because they announced Kingdom Hearts 4, once that is actually like more like a thing, like they show like more trailers and like get maybe a release date, I'm gonna have to jump back into that to finish it up. And I'm so dreading that day, because I had to look up guides on how to beat them, because it was so frustrating trying to do it on my own. And literally, I felt like I broke one of my controllers just button mashing, trying to like dodge and do the right stuff at the same time. And it's like, because I'm one of those players that like get in the thick of things. I can't just sit back and just dodge and counter and all of that.
I have to jam it harder so it moves faster. No, yes. I fully understand, dude.
Exactly. So it's like,
not a joke.
Oh man, but that, man, and that was just recent. Like, I've had more. If I like took the time to like think about what other frustrating moments, but that was one that just stuck in my mind. That I was just like, why you do this to me? And it was funny because when they released the DLC, they had a picture of Sora. You know how like when you die, they have Sora on the, like, he's like floating, and then his heart is like right on top of him.
Yes.
They showed a picture of that and just like, are you ready? It's like, are you telling me that I'm gonna die this whole time? Like, they were trying to warn me. I should have listened.
Like, get ready. I'm not gonna lie to you, someone who's by one of my PlayStation controllers, actually, my PlayStation 4 R2 button stopped working because how hard I pressed the R2 button. It's so crazy because it's not. I can't remember the game I was playing before because I started playing GTA 5 again.
Yeah.
Then I was doing the story mode again, and like it got to the point where I can't shoot the gun anymore with R2 because how hard I was pressing it. But I could still drive the car. I can still drive the cars and stuff, but I can't shoot the guns.
That's weird.
To shoot the guns and to drive the car is the same button. So the button works, just the gun function no longer works for that controller. And I don't know what's going on. I already started using another controller, but I was so confused. Like I had to wait like a good 3 months. Not even 3 weeks. I was like, what is going on with this controller?
Yeah, no, that's very weird. That probably shouldn't happen. Maybe it probably you messed up your controller somehow.
Probably, but like
probably like sweat in it or something like that. It's messing up with the internal.
Hey! I know I sweat a lot. Like, come on.
No, it's okay.
No,
I have sweaty hands too. It's okay. But yeah. So that'll do it for us, guys. Like and subscribe. And you can follow us on the socials. You'll find it in the description as usual. And any closing thoughts, Brother Tay?
Video games teach you lessons. You just gotta be willing to listen to them.
Or just rage out. There's nothing wrong.
That too.
Nothing wrong with raging out.
Just don't punch people.
Absolutely not. Or don't throw your controllers, because then that's $60 you gotta spend.
Don't break the controllers. If you listen to this thing young, don't do it. Don't throw it at the wall. We learned.
Don't do it. Just don't do it. All right. See you guys.
Yes,